No, Willis. This is the state of the watch collection, not the state of Willis. Hey, folks, I hope everybody's doing well. Today, we're going to be talking about my watch collection exiting 2025. I've been interested in watches for about 5 years now, so the goal today isn't to flex or rank these watches. I'm just going to walk you through the watches that I actually wear, tell you a little bit about what they are, how I got them, when I wear them, how they make me feel, and honest downsides to these watches. So the watch that I'm wearing probably at least 5 days a week is some flavor of the Casio F-91. I'm 30 years old, and as far as I can remember, I've been wearing a Casio since I was a little kid. They're incredibly durable. You can work out in them, you can sleep in them, check the time at night with the light up function. Very durable. You just don't have to worry about it. All around, just a great watch, and I don't think there's too much more to say. It's just a great everyday beater. The first big boy watch I got was this Frederique Constant Heartbeat Moonphase. I got this in 2020. I paid, I want to say, $1,900 for it at the time, and I got it through an authorized dealer in the London airport. So the backstory behind this one is in 2020, just a few years after graduating college, I was starting to get into looking at watches, just nothing serious, a lot of YouTube browsing. I had finally paid off my student loans and maybe saved up around $5,000. And on an international flight connecting through Heathrow on the way home, right before COVID actually struck, so this is like March 5th, 2020. I had a couple drinks in the airport, saw that this was available, and then just decided to pull the trigger and buy it. This is one that I woke up the next few days just feeling guilty about the price because at that point it was just a ridiculous amount of money for me to spend. And I was debating whether to sell it. Ultimately, I kept it, obviously. It's a special piece in my collection, again, just being like the first big watch that I got, and knowing that I got this 2 days before the world went crazy with COVID and completely shut down. Unfortunately, it doesn't get a ton of wrist time anymore. I just find myself reaching for other watches. I do think it's great value. You have an in-house movement, a really nice design, all at a pretty reasonable price. Just a few downsides. One, I wish it were 38 millimeters. It's 40. I think a 38 millimeter would be a more classic sizing for this. And then the second piece is sometimes I feel like it has a little bit too much going on between the guilloche dial, the open movement, and the moon phase. I think it comes together well. It's a really, really nice watch, but maybe two out of the three would have been sufficient. Even though I don't wear this watch all that much anymore, I'll never sell it. It represents a version of me that was just starting to feel like an adult. My next big purchase was in 2023 with this Rolex Datejust 126200. This is obviously the 36 millimeter Oyster smooth configuration, which is probably one of the more boring configurations, but the reason why I love it so much is that it is kind of boring and elegant and sporty all at the same time. I made a whole video on the purchasing experience and specs and shots of this watch, so I won't go too into detail, but I bought this for $8,900 in 2023 from Crown and Caliber, which was owned by Hodinkee. The reason I actually bought this watch was in when COVID came about in 2020, I kind of stopped exercising and got really physically out of shape. In 2022, I told myself that if I exercise consistently every week for a year, I would buy myself this Datejust, a thing that I just never thought that I would have. But anyways, I actually started exercising every week. So I actually consider this to be one of the better investments in myself. I wear this super consistently, and somebody might mention it in passing once every 6 months, once every 12 months. But it is not a very attention grabbing watch, which is exactly why I love it and why I feel good wearing it. It feels like something that I'm wearing for me, not something that I'm wearing to impress other people or to catch other people's attention. My love for this watch aside, I will give two quick downsides. One, the obvious one, is the price. For nearly $8,000, you could argue that there are more mechanically advanced or watches with more character than this. So I certainly acknowledge that this is not a cheap watch and that there are alternatives at this price point that you could argue are better. And the second piece is you do have to be kind of careful with the polished center links, in particular, like when you're typing on a computer or navigating a corner in your house. I swear that I've only typed on a laptop using this having this bracelet on maybe once or twice, and this scratch is from like that one experience. And if you want a beater that you never have to think about, then like honestly, the polished center leak Rolex models might not be the best option for that. That being said, if there were one watch that I'm confident I'm not going to sell, and one watch that I feel like I can go almost anywhere and do almost anything, it is certainly this model. Um, Besides just how elegant and sporty I think it is, A, it feels like my Rolex, and then B, it signifies a point in my career and life where I was actually able to buy something that I never thought that I was ever going to have. And I don't take that for granted. I'm very thankful for that. Then the next watch that I got in 2024 is a fun one that isn't too serious. This is the Omega Moonswatch Earth. I paid the retail price of $270, and I got it in the spring of 2024 on a trip to Hong Kong. I just thought it was a cool watch and a good memento from the trip. I wear this not that often, honestly. Like you might be able to tell by the fact that the quartz movement has actually stopped. But when I do wear it, is normally on like vacations or maybe like a work trip or some place where I don't want to worry about what watch I'm wearing, both from the perspective of banging it up, but also the watch being recognized. In terms of how this watch makes me feel, it's just a fun watch that I don't take too seriously. I think it's cool. You don't have to worry about what you're wearing when you're wearing it. I can understand how Omega purists view the Moonswatch as a cash grab or like a bit dilutive to the brand. I just take it for what it is, which is a fun quartz watch, and I don't take it that seriously. One honest downside to this watch is you could argue that it is overpriced for being a quartz Casio level watch. It's $270 versus a Casio that goes for closer to 20. Um, and the other piece, I guess, is the quartz battery. I thought normally that would mean that the battery lasts for quite some time, but in my case, less than 2 years and the battery stopped. So that's a thing that I guess I have to go to the Swatch store to get fixed. The second to last piece, and certainly the most expensive, is my Rolex Daytona 116520. This is the steel pre-ceramic model. I made a whole video on this, so won't belabor some of the details here, but this is a 2005 reference. I paid $23,900 from Rolex Certified Pre-Owned for this watch, and it was a 30th birthday present. The backstory behind this one is basically as soon as I had gotten the Datejust, I started saving knowing that I wanted to buy something special for my 30th birthday. And it was a really fun hunt figuring out over those 2 3 years of what it was that I wanted to save up for. I was debating between the ceramic models of the Daytonas and this one, but ultimately I like the steel aesthetic a little bit more on the pre-ceramic version here. And I don't see these that much in the wild. It felt like a little bit more of a deliberate choice or like a collector's choice to get this model over the ceramic, which is a little bit more prevalent. In terms of how often I'm actually wearing this watch, I probably end up wearing it maybe once every 1 to 2 weeks on a special occasion. I do look at it a lot. I take it out of the case a lot, and I'm fidgeting with it a lot at home. But in terms of actually putting it on the wrist and going outside, yeah, something closer to once every 2 weeks for a special occasion. In terms of how it makes me feel, I mean, it makes me feel cool. Like it is objectively a heavy hitter watch. It is a thing that I never thought that I would have, and still, it feels a little bit crazy to me that I own this, just given how nice and quite frankly expensive it is. And additionally, just given the pre-ceramic Daytonas are a little bit less common, it does feel like my Daytona. It feels a little bit proprietary to me, having gone through the whole 2 to 3 year process of figuring out like what is the perfect model for myself, and ultimately landing on one that I see a little bit less of. As far as downsides of this watch go, a lot of them are obviously going to revolve around the price. So for between $20,000 and $25,000, obviously there's a whole host of alternatives out there that you could be purchasing. You have some like entry level Patek Calatravas. You could meaningfully get along towards a Longa or a Vacheron. Those are some of the thoughts that pop into my head of around price and some trepidation there. Also, I mean, with any expensive thing, you can have some nerves going out in the world with it, both from the perspective of theft and from potential scratching. For what's worth, though, I mean, I've worn this watch in public and at restaurants, bars, casinos, name your venue, and not that many people have noticed this, or like I haven't seen that many people looking at my wrist. So I think a lot of this watch flashiness is in our own heads as watch collectors, because most of the world, 99% of the world, probably does not care or notice what you're wearing on your wrist. The next watch is the Cartier Tank Small. And the backstory there is I bought it at the same time and from the same dealer that I bought the Daytona from certified pre-owned through. And I mean, I bought it because it was a watch that my girlfriend had wanted. I thought was really nice, and I quite frankly felt like a jerk walking home with a $20,000 Daytona and just hogging that experience to myself. I wanted to buy a really nice thing to share the love and share the experience with. So yeah, I surprised my girlfriend with the Cartier tank, and she was very, very excited. I see videos that are pretty polarized on whether men can wear the tank small. In my opinion, it looks great. I mean, I have a smaller wrist, so I'm probably a little bit biased, but I think it looks fantastic. And I've probably gotten more compliments wearing that watch than I have on any of the watches that are on the table right now. As far as downsides go to the Cartier tank, honestly, I don't think there are that many. The biggest qualm that I could see somebody arguing is that it's closer to jewelry than it is a watch, just because it is a quartz watch charging over $3,000. But with that said, I mean, great design, and I think you're getting a good bang for your buck as far as jewelry goes. So these are the watches that I've collected over the last 5 years. That said, the two watches or the two types of watches that I'm looking at are in the next 6 to 12 months, I would like to get a nice beater watch, which I'll talk more about. And then longer term, maybe 2, 3 years down the line, I'm hoping to get like a nice heavy hitter dress watch. As far as like the more under the radar watch that I would like in the next 6 to 12 months, so in particular, I'm looking for something that is legible, not super attention grabbing, and ideally on a rubber strap or a band that can be easily swapped out. With that said, a few of the models that I'm looking at is one, the most likely option is the Panerai Luminor in 40 millimeters. I just think it's a cool watch. I don't see them that often in the wild. Super legible, and every time you swap out the band, it looks kind of like a new watch. I've considered the Omega S&P 300. In particular, I think the green looks really, really cool. I love that dial, but obviously, if you get a green dial, then you have a little bit less versatility on what straps you can wear. And there are a whole host of IWCs that I think are great, that really check off the boxes for super legible and, again, versatility as far as bands go and fly a little bit under the radar. That said, please leave a comment if you have any other suggestions for watches that would fit this description. Longer term, again, I'm trying to keep the watch collection to about this size. So my focus after tacking on whatever that nice like under the radar watch is in the near term would be to get a dress watch that I love. And hopefully this is something that's one and done. Obviously it never goes down like that, but a few of the watches that I've thought about is the Lunga One in pink gold. I just think looks absolutely phenomenal. The finishing is great. The dial is unique, and you know that you are just getting some of the finest watchmaking on the face of the planet. And another entry level Patek that's really caught my eye is the Patek 5296, the older reference of the Calatrava. This is one that I just think is absolutely stunning and is one of the best valued Pateks at around $20,000. So those are the two that are in top contention. I go in rabbit holes watching YouTube videos of a bunch of watches that I fall in love with in the dress watch category from time to time, but those over maybe the last year or two have been the dress watches that have most caught my attention. Thank you for watching. That's the current state of my collection. I'm sure it'll change. Other watches might come, some watches may leave, but right now this is what fits my life. Thank you for watching.